Are you new to the game and you just got one of the standard characters out of your beginner banner? Do you lost a 50-50 on a limited character? Or are you close of selecting your free standard 5-star character after finally dumping 300 wishes on the standard banner? It doesn't matter the situation you are in, because this video will be useful for you anyways. In this video, I will list and rank every standard character from the weakest to the strongest, representing the priorities you should have when selecting one of them. Just like I did with all of the other videos of similar formats, I will be listing these characters having in consideration tier lists and MOC or perfection usage. But the biggest factor in this list will be my opinion. If you end up liking a character that doesn't perform that well on this list, in any way, shape or form you shouldn't feel forced to not play or select that character. Every character can be used and work in your account if you dedicate your time into it. Just before the video starts, I want to remind you all to leave a like and a sub. 93% of you are not subscribed, and it motivates me a lot seeing you all showing your support. I always try my best to provide the best guides or creative videos in general for you. All my links are in the description for those who are curious, and for those who want to support me even more, you can always become a member. So without any furthers, let's go to the ranking. In 7th place and on the last place of this list, we have the prodigy but yet neglected Young King. Young King is a ice character that follows the path of the hunt and is focused on being a DPS for your team by getting a lot of free stats if he spams his skills and doesn't suffer damage. Young King, if you play him right, has a lot of free stats that are very welcome to the early game, helping you a lot balancing stats in general. He also has limited crowd control with his follow-up, allowing him to freeze the enemies sometimes, and he can deal with ice weak enemies relatively easy compared to maybe other characters. But Young King is exclusively single target oriented, with little to no way around that problem, making him less necessary for any type of content who doesn't rely on one enemy only. He also requires very heavy investment and a specific type of shielder to maintain his passive, which compared to other hunt characters is not that great since he has lower damage values than others, which ends up being very resource hungry trying to maintain his talent and not worth to use if you are already on the late game. If you are on the early game, he can help you with earlier battles. If you do end up getting Young King, I hope you are on the early game or you like him a lot, or else he will be forever forgotten in your account. In 6th place, we are going to talk about the 5-star standard healer, Bailu. Bailu is a lightning character that follows the path of abundance and is focused on sustaining your team not only with her heals but also with the damage reduction. Bailu has a revive mechanic in case of one of your characters gets killed, something that no one else on the game provides as a zero, while having a good emergency healing on her ultimate, which also provides a consistent reactive healing and damage reduction, making Bailu skill point positive. But Bailu provides no additional utility besides healing and reducing the damage your team will take, and also doesn't have a cleanse, something that every other healer has. And since she's only a healer, she cannot prevent you from one-shots on harder modes, ending up on 6th place and only good if you are needing a healer in the early game. But since Lynx is already given for free, I don't see you having a use for Bailu at the current meta. For the 5th place, we have someone who was considered just as bad as Young King in the beginning of the game, and I actually got her twice. But with the release of Pure Fiction, she got way more valuable on the meta, and that character is Himeko. Himeko is a fire character that follows the path of erudition and is focused on dealing damage with her follow-up that occur every time you break 3 toughness bars. Himeko has one of the highest base attack stats in the game, and she's very strong at dealing AoE damage, especially against respawning enemies or summoner type enemies, and it's mostly paired with dual DPS teams. She's also extremely weak in single target scenarios and will need quite some investment to be competitive, with her only viable teams being paired with at least Topaz, Runmei or Herta. And none of these will matter if you don't break any toughness bar, since this will limit your Himeko by a lot. Himeko will for sure help you clearing those floors in Pure Fiction, but you will notice that she lacks a lot of on the other modes of the game. For these reasons, I think being at the 5th place is more than fair for her. In 4th place, we are going to talk about Clara, or should I say Svarog, since he's the one actually doing something. Clara is a physical character that follows the path of destruction and is focused on dealing damage thanks to her follow-up attacks, something she will automatically do every time she gets attacked. Clara is an amazing DPS for both single target and AoE scenarios, making her a very durable character, since she will always be useful no matter the scenario you put her in. Another good thing about her, that most of the damage is outside her turn, since she's going to be doing follow-up attacks when enemies are playing. So she makes great use of buffs just like Tingyun's or Yukong buffs, since they go away every time it's your turn. But some of the things that make Clara super solid are also some of the things that can lower her value. Since your Clara will want to be hit by enemies to be able to deal some good damage, she struggles against slow enemies on non-aggressive enemies, because she will not be attacked by them. And against enemies that attack her but deal a lot of damage, she doesn't have any way to sustain herself in her base kit. You would need to find a good healer or shielder that can make your Clara survive throughout the fight. Even though Clara is super versatile, her damage can vary depending on each fight. Due to all of these reasons, I believe Clara is worth of having the 4th place of this list. In the 3rd place of this list, with the bronze medal, we are going to talk about my favorite character of the game and also my main, who I never ended up losing a 50-50 to, and I had to get him after my 300 pulls. And that character is no other than Welt Young. Welt is an imaginary character, and on my account, he's for real imaginary, so every time I pull I pray to lose a 50-50 to him, and that never happens. And he follows the path of Nihility, focus on dealing damage, while also being one speed manipulator for your team. Wealth has competitive damage and utility for your team, while also scaling very well with continual investment from your side. He's extremely flexible in the role he can perform for your team. He can be a hyper carry, and he will also do a great job at it, even better than some characters fully dedicated to that. He can be a sub DPS for your team, manipulating the speed of the enemies while dealing solid amount of damage, and he can be used as a semi-sustainer with his frequent slows and imprisonments, allowing your team to avoid deadly attacks that could end your battles right there, making Wealth a great choice in basically all content the game has to offer. But I have to admit, sometimes slowing enemies may not be the optimal choice for your team or the content. A good example is on Pure Fiction, since sometimes the buffs it provides are directly tied to the enemies taking turns to receive specific amount of damage. And another thing that can be hard to deal sometimes is his bounce skill, since you can fully rely on it on AoE scenarios. Wealth can be an amazing character for your account that will be extremely flexible in what he can provide, but he will need some investment from your side to start seeing good results, especially for the hyper carry role, because you will notice right away if your stats are not that balanced compared to other DPS characters. So I believe Wealth is more than deserving to have this bronze medal and staying with the third place for this list. In second place with the silver medal, we have Blondie that can provide shields, Jeopard. Jeopard is a nice character that follows the path of preservation, focus on shielding your team. Jeopard has a good increased aggro, allowing him to have good energy economy, while also being able to spam basic attacks, making him super skill point positive, with a self-revive passive in case he gets hits too many times to the point where he actually dies. And of course, we cannot forget that the fact that he provides strong team-wide shields with his ultimate. But even providing strong shields for all of your team, he sometimes can struggle to keep them alive against stronger enemies like bosses for example, since he is very ultimate reliant to do his job, and he will barely land any freeze with his skill unless you have both his Eidolon one and his signature light gun. So, even though he's a solid unit for now, he will continue to lose value over time as other units that provide shields come out, and we are already seeing it happening with the release of Aventurine. Jeopard is amazing for anyone who is trying to survive in the game, but like I said, he will most likely only be worth to use if you don't have any other limited sustainer or if you really like him. Having all of this in consideration, I believe he's worthy of getting the second place on this list. And for last, with the gold medal and the first place on this list, we are going to talk about the new Belobog leader, Bronya. Bronya is a wind character that follows the path of harmony, focus on providing good buffs for your characters with an exclusive 100% action advance. Bronya is an exceptionally potent harmonist support. She can advance a single ally's action by 100%, functionally giving them another turn before their time, and gives them a large damage boost. She also increased the whole team's attack and additionally their crit damage based on how much crit damage Bronya herself has. She will always end up being useful to have in your account due to her flexible playstyles, and the more you lose to her, the stronger she becomes. Her only downsides are the fact that her skill buff only lasts for one turn, so she doesn't work that well with characters that do follow-up attacks for example. And even for those she works well with, it's needed an overall game knowledge or else you will be wasting some of her potential. Bronya is for sure the best character to get along all of the standard characters, and I truly wish luck to everyone who still doesn't have her and is trying until today. For all of these reasons, I will give her the gold medal and put her on the first place of this list. So, what do you think about my ranking? Do you agree with me? Or would you switch some characters in there? Just a reminder once again, this list does not mean you should only play with the characters that have high placement on this list. Remember that if you like a character, no matter how bad others say they are, you should always pull and play with the characters you like. And after all, this list is mostly based on my opinion. So, I'm sorry if I offended your favorite characters by any chance. Share this video with everyone that is starting on the game and is thinking who to select. Or with everyone that got their standard character out of the beginner banner. 93% of you are not subscribed, so please, it just takes some seconds of your life, and that way you'll be able to enjoy any future content I post. A special thanks to my members for trying to support me, and thank you so much for keeping me company. See you on my next video. Stay safe everyone. Bye.